Welcome to Pastor Andrew's Inspirations, and this talk today is on the biblical city of Antalya. Antalya is the fifth most populous city in Turkey and the capital of Antalya province. Located on Anatolia's southwest coast bordered by the Taurus Mountains, Antalya is the largest Turkish city on the Mediterranean coast outside the Aegean region, with over 1 million people in its metropolitan area. The city, that is now Antalya, was first settled around 200 BC by the Attalia dynasty of Pergamon, which was soon subdued by the Romans. Romans' rule saw Antalya thrive, including the construction of several new monuments, such as Hadrian's Gate, and the rise of the neighboring cities. The city has changed hands several times, including the Seljuk Sultanate in 1207 and an expanding Ottoman Empire in 1391. Ottoman rule brought relative peace and stability for the next 500 years. The city was transferred to Italian suzerainty in the aftermath of World War I, but was recaptured by a newly independent Turkey in the War of Independence. Antalya is Turkey's biggest international seaport and resort, located on the Turkish Riviera. Large-scale development and governmental funding has promoted tourism. A record 12.5 billion tourists passed through the city in 2014. The city was founded as Attalia, named after its founder, Attalus II, king of Pergamon. This name, still in use in Greek, was later evolved in Turkish as Adalia and then Antalya. Antalya was also the name of a festival at Delphi, and Attalus was the name of an old Greek tribe at Athens. Despite the close similarity, there is no connection with the name Anatolia. King Attalus II of Pergamon is looked on as founder of the city in about 150 BC during the Hellenistic period. It was named Antalya in his honor. The city served as a naval base for Atlas's powerful fleet. Excavations in 2008 in the Dogu Garaji plot uncovered remains dating to the 3rd century BC, suggesting that Attalia was a rebuilding and expansion of an earlier town. Antalya became part of the Roman Republic in 133 BC, when Attalus III, a nephew of Attalus II, bequeathed his kingdom to Rome at his death in 133 BC. The city grew and prospered during the ancient Roman period and was part of the Roman province of Pamphylia Secunda, whose capital was Perga. Christianity started to spread to the region even in the 1st century. Antalya was visited by Paul of Tarsus and Barnabas, as recorded in the Acts of the Apostles. Then they passed through Pisidia and came to Pamphylia, and when they had spoken the word in Perga, they went down to Antalya, and from there they sailed to Antioch. Some of the bishops attributed to the episcopal see of Antalya in Pamphylia may instead have been bishops of Antalya in Lydia, since the Koine lists them under both. No longer a residential bishopric, Antalya in Pamphylia is today listed by the Catholic Church as a titular. The 13th century Seljuk Mosque at Antalya, now in ruins, had been a Christian Byzantine basilica from the 7th century. The Great Mosque had also been a Christian basilica, and the Kisik Minar Mosque had been the 5th century Christian church of the Panagia, or Virgin, and was decorated with finely carved marble. The Archaeological Museum at Antalya houses some sarcophagi and mosaics from nearby Perga, and a casket of bones reputed to be those of St. Nicholas, the Bishop of Myra, further down the Turquoise coast. Antalya was a major city in the Byzantine Empire. It was the capital of the Byzantine theme of the Sybarotes, which occupied the southern coast of Anatolia. According to the research of Spiros Ronis, it was the major naval station on the southern Anatolian coast, a major commercial center, and the most convenient harbor between the Aegean Sea and Cyprus, and points further east. Besides the local merchants, one could expect to see Armenians, Saracens, Jewish, and Italians. At the time of accession of John II Comnenus in 1118, Antalya was an isolated outpost surrounded by Turkish beyliks, accessible only by sea. Following the fall of Constantinople in 1204, Nikitas Choniatis records that one Aldebrandus, an Italian by birth, who was strictly raised according to Roman tradition, controlled Antalya as his own fief. When Kakuzra, Sultan of the Seljuk Turks, attempted to capture the city in 1206, Aldebrandus sent to Cyprus for help and received 200 Latin infantry, who defeated the attackers after a siege of less than 16 days. Kakuzra would take Antalya the following year and build its first mosque. The city and the surrounding region were conquered by the Seljuk Turks in the early 13th century. Antalya was the capital of the Turkish Beylik of Tiki, 1321 to 1423, until its conquest by the Ottomans, except for a period of Cypriot rule between 1361 and 1373. The Arabic traveler Ibn Battuta, who visited the city in 1335 to 1340, noted, "From Alanya I went to Antalya, a most beautiful city. It covers an immense area, and though of vast bulk, is one of the most attractive towns to be seen anywhere, besides being exceedingly populous and well laid down. Each section of the inhabitants lives in a separate quarter. The Christian merchants live in a quarter of the town known as the Mina, and are surrounded by a wall, the gates of which are shut upon them from without at night and during the Friday service. The Greeks, who were its former inhabitants, lived by themselves in another quarter, the Jewish in another, and the king in his court and Mamluks in another, each of these quarters being walled off likewise. The rest of the Muslims live in the main city. Round the whole town and all the quarters mentioned there is another great wall. The town contains orchards and produces fine fruits, including an admirable kind of apricot, called by them Qamar ad-Din, which has a sweet almond in its kernel. This fruit is dried and exported to Egypt, where it is regarded as a great luxury. In the second half of the 17th century, Evliya Çelebi wrote of a city of narrow streets containing 3,000 houses in 20 Turkish and 4 Greek neighborhoods. The town had grown beyond the city walls, and the port was reported to hold up to 200 boats. In the 19th century, in common with most of Anatolia, its sovereign was a landlord or landowner. The family of Tekioglu, domiciled near Perd, had been reduced to the submission in 1812 by Mahmud II, but continued to be a rival power of the Ottoman governor until the early 20th century, surviving by many years the fall of the other great beys of Anatolia. The records of the Levant Company, which maintained an agency in Antalya until 1825, documented the local landowners. In the early 20th century, Antalya had two factories spinning and weaving cotton. As of 1920, the factories had 15,000 spindles and over 200 looms. A German-owned mill baled cotton. There were gin mills. In the 20th century, the population of Antalya increased as Turkish people from the Caucasus and the Balkans moved into Anatolia. The economy was centered on its port that served the inland areas, particularly Konya. Antalya was picturesque rather than modern. The chief attraction for visitors was the city wall and outside a promenade, a portion of which survives. The government offices and the houses of the higher classes were outside the walls. As of 1920, Antalya was reported as having a population of approximately 30,000. The harbor was described as small and unsafe for vessels to visit in the winter. Antalya was exporting wheat, flour, sesame seeds, livestock, timber, and charcoal. The latter two were often exported to Egypt and other goods to Italy or other Greek islands, who received mainly flour. In 1920, the city had 7 flour mills. Wheat was imported and then processed in town before exportation. Antalya imported manufactured items mainly from the United Kingdom. The city had a Greek minority that made up 1/3 of the population until the population exchange. Antalya also had a tiny Armenian population which had a church on the street of Hamam Sikmazi named Hovyanis Serp Garabed, which was later on demolished. Antalya also had a Jewish community, which had a tiny synagogue in the neighborhood of Balbe and a Talmud Torah. The synagogue was closed in 1948, and its exact location is not known. And the synagogue might not exist anymore. The Jewish community had 2 graveyards, and one was located across Donner Seiler Karsisi and was demolished when the area was opened to construction. But one marble tombstone belonging to a Jewish person named Raphael Mosh was transferred to the Antalya Museum, where you can see the tombstone in the museum's garden. The city was occupied by the Italians from the end of the First World War until the founding of the Turkish Republic in 1923. Large-scale development beginning in the 1970s transformed Antalya from a pastoral town into one of Turkey's largest metropolitan areas. Much of this has been due to tourism, which expanded in the 21st century. In the 1985 singing diva Dalida held her last concert in Antalya. That was in 1985. Antalya was the host city for the 2015 G20 Summit and the Expo 2016. 5 countries have their consular missions in Antalya, including Germany, Great Britain, Russia, Belgium, and Serbia. The area is shielded from the northern winds by the Taurus Mountains. Antalya has a hot summer Mediterranean climate, with hot and dry summers and mild and rainy winters. Around 300 days of the year are sunny, with nearly 3,000 hours of sunlight per year. The mean sea temperature ranges between 61 Fahrenheit in the winter and 81 Fahrenheit in the summer. The highest record air temperature reached 113.7 Fahrenheit on July 1st, 2017, which normally averages as high as 93.9 Fahrenheit, and the lowest record dropped to 23.7 Fahrenheit in February, when the low average is as low as 43 Fahrenheit. In 2010, the address-based birth recording system showed a metropolitan population of 1,001,318, 502,491 being male, and 498,827 being female. Source for 1530 to 1889. Agricultural production includes citrus fruits, cotton, cut flowers, olives, olive oil, and bananas. Antalya Metropolitan Municipality's covered wholesome food market complex meets 65% of the fresh fruit and vegetable demand of the province. Since 2000, shipyards have been opened in Antalya Free Zone, specializing in building pleasure yachts. Some of these yards have advanced in composites boat building technology. Corendon Airlines and Sun Express are headquartered in Antalya. Despite having architectural heritage dating back up to Hellenistic times, most historical agriculture in Antalya date to the medieval Seljuk period, with a number of mosques, madrasas, masjids, caravanserais, Turkish baths, and tombs, giving the city a Turkish Islamic character. Historical architecture is concentrated in the walled city, Kaleki. Ancient structures are not well preserved in the rest of the city of Antalya, as the modern city was built on the ancient city. Kaleki, with its narrow cobbled streets of historic Ottoman-era houses, is the old center of Antalya. With its hotels, bars, clubs, restaurants, and shopping, it is being restored to retain much of its historical character. It is surrounded by 2 walls in the shape of a horse nail, one of which is along the seafront, built in a continuous process from Hellenistic to Ottoman times. The Historical Harbour is located in this part of the city, with narrow streets extending from the harbour and branch off into the old city, surrounded by wooden historical houses. Kumarite Square, the main square of the city and a spot very popular for tourists and locals, is surrounded by shopping and business centers and public buildings. There are sites with traces of Hellenistic, Roman, Byzantine, and Seljuk architecture and cultures. There are also examples of the local Greek architecture in the city, with 5 Greek Orthodox churches in the old city. The walled city is surrounded by a large metropolitan area. With high rates of immigration since the 1970s, this area contains large Gekukondu neighborhoods that are not well integrated into the fabric of the city and suffer from poor economic conditions and insufficient education. Gekakondu areas are concentrated in the Kapez district, where an estimated 70% of the houses were Gekakondus in 2008. In 2011, it was estimated that there were 50 to 60,000 Gekakondus in Antalya, housing around 250,000 people. Antalya has beaches, including Kanyalti, Lara, and Karpuz Kalderan. Bihideglari and Saklikent are used for winter sports. Ancient monuments include the city walls, Hidurlik Tower, Hadrian's Gate for the Triple Gate, and the Clock Tower. Hadrian's Gate, constructed in the 2nd century by the Romans in honor of the Emperor Hadrian. Iskeli Mosque, a 19th century mosque near the Marina Karate Madrizi, a Madrizi Islamic Theological Seminary built in 1250 by the Emir Kalaladin Karatai. Kasik Minar, or Broken Minar Mosque, once a Roman temple, then converted to a Byzantine Panaya church, and finally into a mosque. Tekli Mehmet Pasa Mosque, an 18th century mosque built in honor of Tekli Mehmet Pasa. Yat Limani, the harbor dating to Roman era. Yivli Minar, or Fluted Minar Mosque, built by the Seljuks and decorated with dark blue and turquoise tiles. This minara eventually became the symbol of the city. There are urban parks and protected natural areas located outside the cities, allowing the people to have fun, rest, and get closer to nature. Some of them are green areas around lake, pond, and dam lakes, and some are highland and forest areas. The prime urban green areas include Antalya City Forest and Taturk Park and Kapez City Forest. The largest amusement park in Antalya is the Actor Park. Other modern recreational areas include 3 aqua parks in the city, Kanyalti, Lara Beaches, and Beach Park, especially for the summer holidays, while Saklikent also has facilities for skiing in the winter months. The preserved nature areas include Geluk Mountain National Park in Antalya Kordatelli Highway, Mount Olympus National Park in Khmer and Dudin, and Kursunlu Waterfalls. Other protected areas include the Damladas and the Karen Cave and the Guiver Cave. It offers picnic and recreation facilities in various parts of the city. Picnic areas, rafting facilities in Kuprulu Canyon in Manavgat, the part of Korkatelli-Antalya border in western part of Antalya is covered with forests. In these areas, picnic areas, playground, restaurant, and similar facilities are provided. There are lake and forest views on the promenade at Fesliken Plateau to the west of the city center, where visitors can also enjoy nature sports and nature walks. The oil wrestling competition festival organized in summer and accompanied with concerts. The pond in Doron town, located to the west of the city, is very suitable for picnic and fishing. In addition to the open-air recreation areas, the number of shopping centers, which have increased rapidly in recent years, can also be classified as a rest area with the facilities they offer. The shopping centers in the city are gathered in the center. Among the leading shopping centers in the city are Antalya 5M Migros, Antalya Kipa, Laura Shamal Depot, and Audalep Park. The mayor of Antalya Metropolitan Municipality is Muhitin Bocek of the Republican People's Party, or CHP, in office since 2019. For general elections, Antalya elects 18 members of parliament to the Turkish Grand National Assembly. The football club of Antalya, Antalya Spor, plays in the Super League. The team's home venue is Antalya Arena with a capacity of 33,000, which was opened in 2015. Another football venue in the city is Antalya Atatürk Stadium. The city hosts a number of international sports competitions due to its longer-lasting warm weather conditions. Since 2006, one of 4 stages of Archery World Cup events are held at the Antalya Centennial Archery Field. It also hosts the European Weightlifting Championship in 2012, European Beach Volleyball Championship in 2003, European Triathlon Championship in 2013, and the World Kickboxing Championships in the same year. Since 2010, an international multi-day trail running ultramarathon called Lishan Way Ultramarathon is held on the historical Lishan Way. The event runs eastward on a route of around 140 to 150 miles from Oldunez in Fathai district of Mughal province to Antalya in 6 days. Akdeniz University enrolls over 60,000 students. Antalya's signature cuisine includes piyaz, made with tahini garlic, walnuts, and boiled beans. Sis kofki, a spicy meatball which is cooked around a stick. Spicy hives with mixed cumin and tahini. Tandoor kebab, domates, cevizi, saksuka, and various cold Mediterranean dishes with olive oil. One local specialty is termis, boiled seeds of the lupin, eaten as a snack. Grida, also known as lagos or Mediterranean white grouper, is a fish common in local dishes. Festivals and events include Antalya Golden Orange Film Festival, which is a national film festival usually held in September or October. International Eurasia Film Festivals from 2005 to 2008 is an annual international film festival, now part of the Golden Orange Festival. Antalya Television Awards have been awarded annually since 2009. Antalya Festival is in September. Mediterranean International Music Festival takes place in October for 6 days. Antalya International Folk Music and Dance Festival competition is in the last week of August. Aspendos International Opera and Ballet Festival runs from June to July. Sandland Sand Art Festival at Laura Beach. Hilderelez or Hidrelez is celebrated as the day on which the prophets Hazir and Ilyas met on earth. Hilderelez starts on May 5th night and falls on May 6th in the Gregorian calendar and April 23rd in the Julian calendar. It is celebrated in Turkey. It celebrates the arrival of spring. Museums include Antalya Museum, Kaleki Museum, opened in 2007 by the Mediterranean Civilizations Research Center, Antartuk's House Museum, Antalya Toy Museum. The Antalya Metropolitan Municipality opened the exhibition facility in 2011. Suna and Inan Karak Kaleki Museum, an ethnographic museum run by Suna and Inan Karak Foundation. Antalya Ethnographic Museum, a tiny museum in Kaleki housing artifacts of Antalya's cultural, regional dress, and architectural examples. Transportation. The main transportation to the city is by air and land. Sea routes are still under development. In 2007, the airport added a new terminal. The city has a main port at the south of Konyaaltı. There is a network of look-alike dolmuses that are privately owned and operated minibuses under municipal government control. Antalya Ulasim, a municipally owned corporation, runs the public bus system. The corporation owns Antobus and Antre. Antobus was started in September 2010. In 2010, the city planned to increase from 40 to 140 more buses. Payment for public transportation was made in cash until the launch of a public transportation card, Ant Cart, in late 2007. The card system met with criticism and was subsequently cancelled in June 2009, returning to a cash system. Halcart has been used for the transportation system since the summer of 2010. Halcart is managed by Kent Smart City Technologies under the control of Antalya Metropolitan Municipal Government. Passengers can use identified cards to take buses or trams. A tram system opened in 1999 runs from Antalya Museum and the Sheraton Voyage and Feliz hotels, along the main boulevard through the city center at Kalakapizi, Hadrian's Gate, Karalioglu Park, and ending at Attalia Otelli. Trams depart on the hour and half hour from the terminal, east and west, and reach Kalakapizi between 10 and 15 minutes later. In December 2009, a 6.9-mile light rail line entree was opened from one of the main city public bus hubs northwest to beyond suburban areas and the zoo. An extension to airport, AXU and Expo 2016 site was completed in 2016. Antalya is the southern terminus of European Route E87, which connects to Korkuteli, Denizli, Izmir, Kanaka, Edirne in Turkey, along with Varna in Bulgaria, Constanta in Romania, and Odessa in Ukraine. Antalya is also the terminus of Turkish Highway D650, which connects Burdur, Afyon, Kütahya, and Sakarya. D400 connects with D650 in Antalya, while D650 alternative D685 connects to Isparta, and Provincial Road 7 to 50 connects to Kamluka by Altanyaka, an alternative to D400. Antalya Airport has 2 international terminals and 1 domestic terminal. In 2007, its number of passengers on international flights surpassed the total number of Istanbul Ataturk Airport and Sabiha Gökçen International Airport, for the first time officially earning the title of capital of Turkish tourism. The average amount of time people spend commuting with public transit is in Antalya, for example, to and from work on a weekday is 63 minutes. 14% of public transit riders ride for more than 2 hours every day. The average amount of time people wait at a stop or station for public transit is 23 minutes, while 50% of the riders wait for over 20 minutes on average every day. The average distance people usually ride in a single strip with public transit is 4.7 miles, while 13% travel for over 7.5 miles in a single direction. Antalya is twinned with Austin and Miami in the United States, Bat Yam in Israel, Famagusta in Cyprus, Haiku, Kunming, Liwan, Qingdao, Urumqi, and Xining in China, Jeonju and Suncheon in South Korea, Kazan, Omsk, Rostov-on-Don, Vladimir, and Yalta in Russia, Yalta in Ukraine, Mostar in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Nuremberg in Germany, Seville in Spain, and Taldykorgan in Kazakhstan. Notable people are Tarek Ankeltopu, architecture historian, poet, writer, Kafirkan Aksu, football player, Athenaeus of Attalia, physician and founder of the Pneumatist School of Medicine, 1st century AD, Michael Attalius, Byzantine lawyer of the 11th century, Attalus the second Philadelphus, king of Pergamon and the founder of Attalia, Denise Baikal, former leader of Republican People's Party, Yagmur Sirigal, musician, composer of Magda, Musa Anzulnar, actor, Barak Yilmaz, football player, and Levant Yüksel, musician, composer. And this is the biblical city of Antalya.